Joining me now is Esfandiar Baraheni of SDPN Sports. Esfandiar, thank you so much for hopping on. We're doing this immediately post-game after the Toronto Raptors loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. Kind of a tough one, kind of a little bit of the same. What can you kind of give me for takeaways for maybe this game and the first 6 games of the year?
Yeah, I think the half-court offense struggled again immensely in this one. To be honest with you, I thought the Raptors actually had a pretty decent game plan coming into this one, but ultimately, I come away more impressed with Philly than disappointed in Toronto. I thought Philly's defense was excellent. They packed the paint against the Raptors. Joel Embiid was phenomenal as a rim protector, just kind of deterring anything going down in the paint. I mean, Pascal Siakam had 10 points on 11 shots. They did an incredible job of him. Maybe, Nick Nurse had the scouting report out on Pascal already, but ultimately, I come away more impressed by the Sixers than sort of disappointed where the Raptors are at with this game specifically. But, overarching idea of the first 6 games for the Raptors is that this team is going to struggle immensely in the half court. They just don't have the personnel to be good on that end, and they're going to have to hang their hat on their defense, getting out in transition and scoring buckets that way. They weren't able to do that too much tonight. And, when they don't have that source of offense for them, they are going to struggle immensely. Even if they scored 20 fast break points tonight, it still wasn't enough because Philly scored 27 and they dominated on the interior. So it's kind of, when they lose, it's similar and it looks the exact same. And when they win, it sort of looks miraculous. But that's how this Raptor season is probably going to go.
Yeah, so there was a possession late in this game. I didn't watch the full thing, full transparency. I had to cook dinner tonight. But the NBA TV announcer had a good call, a very accurate call late in the fourth quarter. There was a possession where Toronto worked the ball around the perimeter, threw the ball into the inside. Nobody was willing to shoot. There were several open shots that were there for the taking. But he said, quote, "Somebody's got to shoot the ball." And it turned into a turnover, a fast break dunk, timeout by the Raptors, basically the backbreaker to end the game. Yeah. And I feel like that's pretty emblematic at this point of, you need somebody to shoot the ball. You need somebody in the lineup that is willing to take those shots, even if they're not going to be perfect. And for all the questions about Fred VanVleet and whether he was going to be able to, whether he was the right guy to kind of bring back, he would have taken those shots. And there's I think a void there that the Raptors are currently struggling to fill.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, they generated, what were the final numbers here for their half court offense? I think it's probably in the 80s in terms of points per 100 possessions, maybe 75s. They've only cracked 100 points per 100 possessions in one game, and that was in their Milwaukee game. Yeah, they put 81.2 points per 100 possessions.
It's just not good enough, man. It's just not.
It's not only not good enough, it would be a historically bad half court offense. I mean, the Rockets last year were 90.5 points per 100 possessions, and they were dead last. And if you're consistently putting up 81 and 72 and 75 points per 100 possessions in the half court, you're just not generating enough good looks. There are tons of issues for that. The spacing is a big problem for the Toronto Raptors. I think ultimately guys who can create an advantage in the half court is also an issue for the Raptors. They don't have anybody who can create separation in any meaningful way. And it's just going to be like this for a very long time until they shake things up with this roster, whether it be with OG or Pascal or whoever. The one silver lining, Ryan, the one silver lining with all of this, through the 6 games, through everything that we've watched, is that Scottie Barnes has been absolutely phenomenal. Just genuinely, he looks like he is taking that quote-unquote star leap. He's averaging over 20 points, 10 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 blocks, all that stuff. He had, I believe, 24, 8, and 8 tonight. He's been sensational. Genuinely sensational in every step of the way. He's improved as a shooter. He's getting better as a mid-range scorer as well. And I ultimately think, regardless of how this season goes, results-wise, process-wise, it will be really good for Scottie Barnes in the future.
Yeah, Scottie Barnes has been tremendous, and it has been very nice to see him continue to progress. And it was one of the questions heading into this year: is he going to be the building block that Toronto, I think, had kept out of these deals over the summer? We've talked about that before. And it's nice to know that even if the rest of the roster isn't well suited for his needs right now, that there's still plenty of time, there's still plenty of resources to be able to build this out in the long term. It's just an unfortunate thing in game 6 of the season where you start to really see, yeah, some of these issues they may not be solved immediately, and it may be really
Yeah.
difficult this season in particular to surround him with the right talent and the right fit that he needs.
Yeah, I think they kind of have prioritized style versus personnel. With Darko Rajakovic, they're trying to implement a style that suits Scottie Barnes very well. These high post elbow actions that they're running, a la Sabonis, a la Bam Adebayo. These are kind of the certain types of situations that you think Scottie Barnes' playmaking can be maximized in, and his scoring has been maximized with these situations as well. I think you're right. They've kind of, I don't know if they've jumped the gun, but I think they've gotten a coach who is looking at the long term when it comes to Scottie Barnes, and I think this is going to be something that they work through the next couple of seasons, whatever the future of this roster looks like. But so far, the return, and you mentioned, they've kept Scottie Barnes out of these deals. I'm not going to go ahead and say he's Kevin Durant. I'm not going to go ahead and say he's Damian Lillard or Giannis, whoever, right? But ultimately, he looks like he's going to be a very good player, probably an all-star at some point in his career. And maybe even soon. And it's just like, hey, when you have that type of player, you can build around that. It instills confidence in the long-term plans of what the Raptors are building.
And I have no doubt that they have plenty of avenues that they can do what they need to do in order to surround him in the right way. In the meantime, in these next few games and then kind of leading into this in-season tournament here, what are you thinking when it comes to finding the best fit right now? Are they just going to stay the course and use the same starting group in all likelihood, or is it possible that we see a change here at some point?
I think Darko Rajakovic is a big fan of Dennis Schroeder's, so I would be very surprised if they switch it up. This team probably does need a little bit of a shakeup in the starting lineup. I've always said that they need to add more shooting to the starters, and while Schroeder has been awesome, like he really, he signed for the mid-level exception. He's punching above his weight in terms of dollar contributed. You know what I mean? He's been awesome to start this year. I mean, he's shooting 50% from three. Like, it's just been incredible to see. That probably won't stick, but he's been their leader, their playmaker, all of that stuff. And I think for what you signed him for, he's been awesome. But ultimately, you need more spacing. You need more shooting. And I think the Raptors bench specifically needs a guy who can kind of get them going a little bit. And, guys like Grady Dick, guys like Gary Trent Jr., guys like Malachi Flynn, they need that, veteran point guard that can lead this second unit. Their bench unit is one of the worst in the league, and that's what's helped them bleed points throughout these 6 games. We saw it tonight in Philadelphia as well, where they just struggled immensely in the second quarter and in the late third quarter. They can't really keep themselves in these games when they are trying to, sustain levels of play with this bench right now. A shakeup makes sense. Do I think it's likely? No, I don't think it's likely. I think Darko likes his guy, and he's going to have him starting the entire season.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. He's like, Schroeder wasn't even the one I was thinking of, just given the expiring situations of Pascal and OG and guys like that. I just think the writing is kind of on the wall in where they should be going, but we've got plenty of time to discuss that in future episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's wrap up here with the in-season tournament. Toronto's in a group with Boston, Orlando, Chicago, and Brooklyn. I was just curious, give me one take on the in-season tournament, whether it's from the Raptors' perspective or just the NBA in general.
First of all, I love the in-season tournament. I think it's going to be a smashing success. More basketball for me to watch, more basketball for me to cover. Like, I'm a big fan. I don't think there's really any downside to them trying to do this thing. When it comes to the Raptors specifically, they're in a pretty tough group. And all of the games, all of the teams that they have in their group are sort of tough matchups for them. The Nets have this switch-heavy defense. The Bulls and Raptors games always seem to be sluggish. Orlando and Raptors games always seem to be, dogfights. And then Boston has historically been a pretty bad matchup for the Raptors. I don't necessarily love their chances, to be honest with you. I don't love their chances. But ultimately, look, they're going to make every game interesting with their defense. They have shown that they're a very, very good defensive team so far through 6 games. Maybe that gets them to steal a couple. But who knows? That I think overall, I'll just say in-season tournament, I like. Raptors' chances, not so much.
Fair enough, and completely understandable. The team that I think of when you talk about Cinderellas is the hot shooting team.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Toronto, it's just not something I'm really have high expectations for at the moment. So hopefully hopefully that changes, and hopefully they can figure it out. But he is Esfandiar Baraheni of SDPN Sports. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to checking in with you in 6 weeks, Ez.
Thank you. I am looking forward to seeing that mustache even thicker in 6 weeks, my guy. Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.